Okay, welcome back. So we were doing the 1999 marginal costing question, and we're about to move on to part C. Now, I'd said that part A required two formulas, part B required a formula, and those are really the only three formulas you need for this question, generally speaking. But the other parts then use, rather than formulas, they use techniques in order to find the answer you're looking for. Now, what they'll always ask you in the other parts is they're always either looking for the profit you would make when certain things change, or the selling price you would have to charge, or they're looking for the number of units. So you can see even in the wording here at the very, without going into all of it, part C you're required to find the profit the company would make. Part D you're required to find the selling price the company must charge. Part E you're required to find the number of units that must be sold. So the one we're going to concentrate in this video is any time they ask you about the profit the company would make. Now the approach I take, and there are several different approaches for doing any of the rest of these, but the approach I take whenever they ask you what the profit the company would make is I do another marginal costing statement, but not as developed as this, a smaller version of this. Okay, so my marginal costing statement will have in it sales, it'll have minus variable costs, and then these are workings as well, of course, so I'm not too concerned about the having all of the words, or I'm going to use a lot of abbreviations. So sales minus variable costs, giving me the contribution, and then minus fixed costs, giving me the profit. And that's as much as I'm going to put in my marginal costing statement. So let's look at what they ask you first of all. The profit the company would make in 1999 if it reduced its selling price to £10, increased fixed costs by this much, and thereby increased the number of units sold to 90,000, with all other cost levels and percentages remaining unchanged. So they've changed a number of things, increased their fixed costs, the number of units sold have gone up to this, and the selling price is this. It was 11 and it's gone down to 10. Excuse me. So if we take that information here, in order to work out the sales, first of all, we just need to know the new number of units sold, which is 90,000. And we need to multiply that by the new selling price, which is £10, or we've been using euros, so 10 euros if you like. So that gives me a total sales of 900,000. Okay. The next thing then is my variable costs. Now my variable costs, again, what I can do is I can take the number of units and multiply it by the variable cost per unit to get my total variable cost. But there is a little trick to this, or a little problem with this, in that the variable cost per unit up here was 620. Okay, and they said all other cost levels remain the same. So normally, or in other circumstances, we might be able to say, well, it's 90,000 multiplied by 620, and that gives me my total variable costs here that I can then subtract from 900,000 to get my contribution. However, any time, and this is a rule that you need to remember really, any time there is a sales commission which is given as a percentage of the selling price, or as a percentage of sales, well then that is going to change your variable cost per unit if the selling price changes. So two ifs. If there is a percentage sales commission and if the selling price changes, then that's going to change this part of your variable cost per unit, which will of course then also change your total variable cost per unit. So since we know the selling price has changed from 11 euros down to 10 euros, that means this is going to change. This part is going to remain the same, but overall this 620 is going to change. So we have a little working to do. So if the new selling price is 10 euros and the sales commission is 5% per unit sold, or 5% of sales, then 5% of 10 euros is 50 cents. So our total variable cost per unit here changes from 50 cents plus 565. So instead of coming to 620, it comes to 615. In other words, it's gone down by 5 cents because this went down by 5 cents. So that's now 615. And if I multiply the 90,000 by the 615, I'll do that in a calculator here. I get 553,500. Then if I subtract that from the 900,000, I get 346,500. That's my contribution. Now, the next thing is my fixed cost. A little bit of working to be done there as well, because in the question, that was the third thing they changed. They said if the increased the fixed costs by 6,000. So our fixed costs in total were originally 254,000, but now we're going to increase them by 6,000. So 254,000 plus 6,000, and that gives me 260,000. And again, I'm subtracting that because it's minus fixed cost, and I'm getting 500 there, 6 there, 8, and that's it, isn't it? 86,500. And again, that is in euros, and we definitely want to put in the euro sign. We don't need it throughout our calculations, but in our answer we definitely want to have that euro sign.